Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or as some of you like, hello, pilgrims. I'm Bruce McDonald, and this is the Talamanca Review. It's Friday, the 28th of March, 7:54 p.m. By the way, the 28th is Amazon payday, and they're always 2 months behind, so I'm getting paid for January. So don't be afraid to buy a book. I don't sell anything here, but I think the books are well worth your time to read. All of my books, actually. But the ones that really relate to this podcast are Stardust Ranch, The Incredible True Story, The Light of Darkness, A Warrior's Tale for Our Time, and The Devil in Us, A Memoir of You and Me. And I can't think of 3 books that could explain what's going on in this world any better to you. I don't think anybody has done a better job of laying it all out. Nobody. Not David Icke, not any of the pundits out there writing or talking or doing podcasts. They don't know. They really don't know. And this is one of those things where you have to get everything right. It's like a complicated French recipe, maybe a croissant or a souffle, and if you get one little detail wrong, it won't rise or it won't brown or the recipe don't work. It doesn't work. It's not something that you can get 80, 90, or even 95%. You can do that with pasta. You can overcook or undercook pasta. You can muck up your sauce a little bit. It's still edible, still an enjoyable meal. But with what we're going through now, you either know or you don't know. And I'm no genius, okay? I know because I was told or led to it by spiritual direction. And quite frankly, all immodesty aside, given permission to talk about it. Because make no mistake about it, these are dangerous topics. And I would not be doing the Talamanca Review if I were living in a condo in Toronto. I'll tell you that right now for nothing. I would not be doing the Talamanca Review. One sec here, I'm going to do something a little chauvinistic, and some of you may resent me. Mi amor! Mi amor! Cafe! Cafe! I'm getting a coffee. Nice percolated coffee brought to me. Thank you, Jim and Yoshi. They gave me, when I was in Panama, they had an extra one. They gave me this little one-off. Un café, porfa?
Tú venías atrás, tú no traes el café está
Yo
aquí.
finito lo primero.
Sí, pero aquí el té no hay.
Mi amor, yo recuerdo mi programa. Qué vergüenza, la gente se escucha.
¿Y cuál? Ellos no comprenden mi español. So,
Gracias. Y cierra la puerta, porfa. Okay. That went better than I thought. Sometimes I get the coffee. Sometimes I go get your own coffee, you lazy bastard. I do a lot for my wife and my family, so I don't want you to think that I'm some kind of caveman. But really, I'm some kind of caveman. Not really. So, the book that revealed it to me what was going on, and more clearly than anything else, The Secret of Secrets, was The Light of Darkness, A Warrior's Tale for Our Time, the book that I did with Robert Wiegand and Bob. And it wasn't the focus of the book, and Bob didn't tell me. All Bob did was explain how Palo Mayombe and blood magic works because he initiated into it decades ago and got out of it. And that's quite a process. You got to do it right or you're cursed for life, okay? I can't believe there's even people out there stupid enough to get into these spirit commiseration religions. But hey, what are you going to do? I probably did it 100, 500 lifetimes ago. I probably cycled through it. So who am I to talk, right? That's another thing I constantly remind myself of when I'm talking out loud like a jackass. A little voice in my head says, "Yeah, you probably did that in your life record, idiot. Why don't you be less judgmental?" And I go, "Yeah, I probably did do that." I see massive traces of this Illuminati culture. Muchas gracias, mi amor.
Gusto.
Yo es muy contento con tu y mi matrimonio.
¿En serio?
En serio.
Igual yo, papi.
Ok,
A mí me
gracias.
gusta cuidar a tú. Un beso.
Ok,
So,
okay, bye bye. You call each other mommy and poppy here. I said this joke before, but it never gets old. Took me a couple years to get used to that. I feel like I'm in some 70s porn film or something, but they mean it differently over here. It's you know. Anyways, so that's another thing we got to remember is that look, we go through all the cycles down here, negative and positive. Okay? So and I've already warned you about judging in really well articulated in tragedy as spiritual pornography because what you're asking for it is what you're doing. Um, and you may say to yourself, well, these are things operating in the public space and they're influencing entire societies. Don't I have a right to have an opinion on it? Yeah, in that context, you do. You do, definitely you do. So don't overthink these things or get yourself all worked up or anything. I mean, it's just a podcast, right? It's recently been made known to me that there are people who have tried to watch this podcast, but it's too frightening for them. They can't watch it. And I get it. I get it. Like I'm very, very comfortable in darkness. And I'm not a dark person though. I have light inside me. I literally have light inside me, the product of years of meditation. Not all the time. I mean, sometimes I have Seinfeld reruns inside me. Depends where I put my attention. But when I'm in regular cycle and getting my 2 to 3 to 4 hours of meditation done a day over 2, 3, or 4 sittings, yeah, I got like a lot of light inside me. And sometimes it scares me. It really does. Okay? Like it's like the spiritual life is not for the faint. Whoever told you, I mean these idiot Christians going out, "Oh, Jesus and God will change your life." Really? I've never seen anybody on path who had their life made better in the beginning. The only thing that changes is that everything has a purpose and you're not confused or afraid, and that everything you go through has a reason and a purpose, and you're not afraid. And that is a really important thing to get. But this idea that some magical dude's going to come into your life and take away all your woe and all your anguish, that's just complete bullshit. And if it does happen, that person's doing you a disservice because you're not finishing your cycles. You're not learning what you came here to learn, right? It's kind of like the spiritual equivalent of the no mas fight between Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard in, I think, 1980 or 1982, where in the 8th round, Duran just says, "No mas, no more." And he walks out of the ring and forfeited the fight. And he's a Panamanian. He's my favorite boxer of all time, by the way, Roberto Duran. He was a force of nature. He was just like an incredible dude. Um, so there you go. So today we're gonna talk about what's really going on. And I've said it before, but I got to keep repeating it and giving more depth and context to what I'm saying so that people get it, okay? And it's like the first time you hear it, you can hardly believe it. It's so banal. That's it? But really, if you know what it is and what it really portends, there's nothing banal about it at all. Okay? There are a lot of speculations out there about what they're going to do in this time. There have been a lot of wooden duck decoys put out there, specifically for idiotic conspiracy theory communities. Project Bluebeam is one, the alien invasion. And Werner von Braun spoke about that. By the way, his secretary, who gave all that information to the world, she's a big fan of Stardust Ranch. I got to meet her. She read it. She wanted to meet me after John Edmonds had passed. And very interesting. So I'm in the game. I got skin in the game. People know who I am. I think they listen to me at the CIA. I'm not even joking. And I'm not trying to be immodest or aggrandize myself. And they don't listen to me because they're monitoring what I say. I'm a security threat. They're listening because they actually enjoy it. And they're going, how the fuck does this guy figure this shit out? Well, I live in an earthbag house and I meditate 2 to 4 hours a day. And it just kind of pops into my head. Spirit gives it to me. That's how I figure it out. How come it doesn't corrode you? How come, you don't melt like the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz with all this information, the genocide and the depopulation and everything? Because I don't give a shit about dying. I love life. Love life. A moment of ingratitude for life is a moment of contempt for the Creator. You don't want to have contempt for the Creator. It's self-contempt. Okay? So I just do. I have this like I don't know, this kind of like Teflon in my aura, you know? I've always been this way. I'm born this way actually. It's a constitutional thing. I'll tell you a story. It's a bit gross, but it just solidifies what I'm saying. When I was a young boy, about 8 or 9 years old, we got rabbits for pets. And my father, he built a cage with 2x4s and chicken wire. And then at the end of it, there was a little place with hay for the rabbits to nest. And when we went to the pet store, we said 2 females, please, but they accidentally gave us a male and a female. And rabbits in captivity will breed out a cycle. So um, the rabbits were born, and I went out to feed them one morning, and I opened up the little box where they sleep, and the 2 rabbits, and there were like 8 or 9 little baby rabbits there, like frozen rock hard, because it was like the middle of January in Ottawa. And it was breakfast. I think it was like a Monday morning or something. I was on my way to school, waiting for going out to get the bus to Lester B. Pearson Junior High School. Was I in Pearson at that time? Yeah, so I would have been about 12 or 13. And my mom said, she's farm raised. She said, somebody's got to go get those babies out of there. And nobody could do it. Like my dad didn't want to do it. My brother didn't want to do it. And my sister couldn't do it. And I just went and I got a hammer and a chisel. And I chiseled the dead baby rabbits out and just kind of gave them my version of a proper burial. But this lack of fear about death and the morbid things, it's always just been a part of me. And then my lack of inhibitions around, my lack of fear around the demonic entities, that's a byproduct of being raised by my mom and dad, who were demonically bothered people and demonically harassed people. And they deserved it. Everybody who has demons in their life deserves it. Okay, you may not, and this is what I hate about the Catholics. They go on and on and on and pretend to be the experts on demonology, but they never give you the backstory, because the backstory would break their theology. The backstory is it's something in your bloodline or something from a past life, but there's no reincarnation in Catholicism, so they can't explain it. I think most of the priests who do exorcisms know what I'm saying to you, but they can't break Catholic doctrine. It's a big corporation, big corrupt corporation, right? So they don't explain it. So I got used to having like demonic entities around me. I grew up with them. You could feel them in the house. And now I can talk to them. I don't, because you don't want to hang around with them too much. Um, but also they're very busy. They have work to do, right? They're part of the divine hierarchy. They have work to do, right? It freaks people out when I say that demons are part of the divine hierarchy and they have work to do. People get all freaked out, but that's just all the programming, the epigenetic programming that's been put into you. If you've been cycling through Christianity, European-based Christianity for the last 1,000 years or so, it's all embedded in your astral body. Okay, so that's why it freaks you out, but it's the truth. Okay. Um, so tonight we're going to get into it. All right. So what the hell is going on? Well, I'm going to say it once, real simple, like pulling a Band-Aid off. And again, it's going to sound completely banal. You're going to go, is that it? But it is what it is. They're going with the religious narrative. They are going to rebuild the Temple of Solomon. They are going to destroy the Dome on the Rock, also known as the Alaska Mosque, which will infuriate the Islamic world and perhaps ignite World War III, or perhaps they'll start World War III and claim that the destruction of the Alaska Mosque was an accidental, what do they call it, friendly fire. Oh, sorry, a missile just happened to hit the mosque. And, well, now that it's gone, though, we think we're going to build the Temple of Solomon there. All right, and that's what they're going to do. And they're going to go for the Noahide law. And I can't give you all the background on that. Well, there's only 7 points to Noahide law. And when the rabbis talk about it, they sound so nice. Oh, it's very difficult to be a Jew. We have 613 laws. I don't know why anyone would convert. You get to go to the same heaven as us. It's just that we've been given this extra responsibility, so there's no need to convert. Just let the Jews do what they're here to do, and blah, 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 blah. It's almost like a comic book. It's so fucking stupid, but it's real. This is the thing that nobody gets. This is real. This is the sleeper. Nobody saw this coming. Everybody thinks it's going to be extraterrestrial, extra dimensional, because we've been entrained in the last 100 years to think scientifically, not religiously. Nope. They're going with the old religious narrative. It's that simple. And it's already underway. Okay? It's already underway. The moral authority by which they're depopulating the world now is Noahide law. Okay? And they're killing what they perceive to be idolaters. Okay? And this cracks me up, by the way, because even the need to have a temple is a form of idolatry. You don't need, your body is your temple. Spirit goes into the temple of the body, right? It's like Christ said, in 3 days I will destroy the temple, and in 3 days I will rebuild it. He's not talking about the Temple of Solomon. He's talking about his body. Okay? The body is the temple. This is why this ties into Shark Tank, where I tried to instill in you listeners an appreciation for a life and how important it is to do inner work when you're in a body. It's literally the only thing we do that carries over from the life. You can't take your stocks with you. You can't take your bonds with you. Ladies, you can't take your jewelry with you. You can't take your gold. You can't take your silver. You can't take your horses. You can't take your car. You can't take your motorbike. You can't take your skidoo. You can't take your fishing boat. You can't take your yacht. And these lives are so short. They're only like 80 years. But if you get on the right track and you internally focus through meditation, focus here, by the way, and get to know your consciousness and your thoughts with no judgment, you will begin to sort through everything. You will begin to see miracles, not do them per se, but see them. And you will begin to engage with other life forms. Okay? And I won't even put brackets around that. There are no brackets. I'm so far beyond bracketing this stuff, it isn't funny. Okay? There's life everywhere. Everywhere I go now, there's life. Up here, I found the duende. Little bastards are here all the time now, especially when the kids are here, you know? Um, oh, a follow up to last night. My wife started talking to other mature members of her family, and we're putting the screws to Steven, right? I took my car away from him. He can't borrow it anymore, which creates a huge problem because he has kids that have to get down the mountain. Not my problem. He can get somebody to take the kids to school on a motorcycle for $10 a day. Okay, not my problem. He's back. The whole truth was given to me today. He's back to drinking big time, and we've had it, man. We're out of patience. Okay, and I don't know what's the matter with this guy, but there's a lot of people falling apart now. And I felt something shift at the beginning of March. I felt it shift. I just felt it like a tumbler in a safe. Okay, not quite sure what it is. I just know it's there. I'm noticing a lot of people going crazy now, and that's just going to go up through the roof. You're going to see people going off all the time now, like crazy shit, right? Like going off in shopping malls, going off in airports, and just like completely losing their shit. What's going on? Well, it's a lot of stuff. It's the medical regimen that we were put through, and there's an aspect of that that cuts you off from your spirit, and that was done intentionally. You can see videos on YouTube going back to the early 90s where the geneticists are talking about what they call the God gene, and the vaccine was designed to limit or cut off what I call the awakened imagination. This is a full-on spiritual attack. They're literally trying to enslave these bodies here. Now the question becomes, what are they doing with the spiritual essence of people? Well, the rabbis have an answer for that. Those sparks are going to be used as the kindling to refire the new world. That's how dark this is. Okay? Anyways, getting back on track. So they're going to rebuild the temple, and the temple is, let me just go through this because it's important, okay? What are the 7 Noahide laws for Gentiles? Okay. Now all of these are punishable by death, by the way. Okay, I think maybe you get a warning or something, but I think they're just going to kill you. And they have the means to do it now if you took their medicine. It's already in you. They can do it from a computer 1,000 miles away. They can do it from a satellite. They could take me out too if they wanted to. They could just with the Starlink dishes I have here, they could take me out. Because those Starlight satellites, I've been informed, convert to the directed energy weapons as well that they use to start the fires. But I don't care. If they want to kill me, they want to kill me. They got to answer to whatever gave me this mission, and they don't want to do that, so they're going to leave me alone. But I have to be respectful of them because it's not as good cop, bad cop, black spy, white spy from mad comic books as you think it is. It's a balance of creative and destructive energy to preserve the world and to preserve the continuity of the sentient hominid on this planet. Okay? So in a sense, you could say that the Jews are in league with the demonic legions and doing that work of destruction and cleanup, which needs to be done. Okay? But it doesn't help that the 20th century was nothing but temptation to lead people into chaotic lifestyles that make them vulnerable to this at this moment in history, right? So let me explain Noahide law and the cull that we're going through in a very simple metaphor. It's like getting hooked on crack, and then 2 years after smoking crack, your dealer comes and says, "Hey man, I got to kill you. You're a crackhead." That's it. Okay? And you never should have taken the crack in the first place, but so many people are smoking the crack metaphorically now. Anyways, the 7 Noahide laws, a set of basic moral principles in Jewish tradition, are do not worship idols, do not curse God, do not murder, do not commit sexual immorality, do not steal, do not eat meat from a living animal, and establish courts of justice. Okay? I'm sure those courts will be fair. Yeah. So do not worship idols. This commandment emphasizes the belief in one God and prohibits the worship of any other deities or objects. To put this into perspective for you, that's every religion on the planet except for Judaism. According to the rabbis, every religion on the planet is involved in idolatry. Buddhism, Bruce? Yeah. And, just because of the fat Buddha statues in the temples, that's idolatry. Kill them. I know this sounds like a Saturday Night Live sketch. I'm being 100% serious. Okay? You can't quite see it yet. But if you look carefully, you can see it. You can see it creeping up. By the way, Donald Trump is Chabad, which is the main political and social force working on behalf of this Jewish initiative now. And according to the rabbis in Russia, Vladimir Putin is a Chabadnik. Okay? So they're both Chabad, right? There you go. I myself do not practice idolatry. I practice meditation. This is why I say the body is the temple. But they're really a bunch of fucking hypocrites. I mean, I could probably go into one of these courts of justice they're going to set up and make a case that gets all the Jews killed. But I won't do that because I don't want to kill anybody or get anybody killed. But the temple itself is a form of idolatry because you don't need a temple to worship God. You just need breath and a body. Okay? You need a living body. That is your temple. The pretense of building this Temple of Solomon is idolatry. I wish these fucking idiot rabbis could understand that, but they're dogmatists. What are you going to do? They're fucking morons. Okay? I know you guys think you're real smart if any of you watch this podcast. You're not. And if you knew what was coming, you wouldn't be fucking doing what you're doing, but you're fucking dumb. And you've been made dumb by becoming dogmatic for 3,000 years. God isn't in a book, not in the Talmud, not in the Zohar, not in the Kabbalah, not in the Torah. God's in you, you fucking morons. That's my rebuke to the rabbis. All right, so do not worship idols. This commandment emphasizes the belief in one God and prohibits the worship of any other deities or objects. Deities or objects. Okay? So there's a big question about whether Allah and Yahweh or Hashem are the same God by a different name. Because if they're not, there's a big problem with the Islamic world. Okay? Now, to be clear, I think all of this shit is nonsense. I think the Abrahamic system is an abomination to the human race. And if I were truly if God handed me power to do whatever I wanted on this planet right now and gave me the might to back it up, I would give warning to the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims that you have another week to shut down your religions, destroy your mosques, destroy your synagogues, and destroy your churches, or I'm going to evaporate you all and turn you into stardust and eradicate your soul record on this planet. I would do that. Hand to God, I would do that. I do not like the Abrahamics. I think they're fucking goofs. All of them. Right, right from Adam to Muhammad. Just a big group of fucking goofs. Okay? And basically alien. Completely alien. Okay? It is the most blatant example of an alien intrusion on our race in the human record. And you're not going to figure that out watching Ancient Aliens because they confuse it even more. You got to see it. And the only way you're going to see it is to have a realization. And the only way you can provoke a realization is, in my understanding, it's meditation. Okay? Or you can ask for it. And that would be prayer. You could ask for it, and maybe God will give it to you. Maybe he won't. Depends. He's a very fickle dude, the creator. Very fickle dude, you know? So, but when you're in his grace, you're in his grace. When he knows you, he knows you. Okay? Do not curse God. The law forbids blasphemy and disrespect towards God, punishable by death. And they mean their God. Hashem, Yahweh, whatever you want to call it, their demiurge, their fucking cretinous piece of shit, bloodlusting astral entity is what they're referring to there. So fuck that piece of shit. I think I just broke that law, but they're not officially in yet. So when they do come in, I will respect them, by the way, because there's just this spiritual principle that if something can be established on the planet, if the force through circumstance allows it to be established, you should accept it. Okay, it's kind of like Romans 13 in the Bible. But if they get it done legally, you should respect it, okay? It won't last long anyways. It'll all be over in 7 years because they're fucking idiots. They're not management material. They're parasite material, okay? And this whole culture has gained its trillions of dollars by parasitically existing off of Gentiles. And the moment and they're so fucking stupid. This is what amazes me about these people. They think they're so smart, but they're so fucking stupid. It's unbelievable. They had a good thing going for like 1,000 years. Okay, the Jews were always the people whispering in the king's ears, which means they had as much power as the king, being an advisor, and they never got their heads cut off when shit went south. Now they want to be king, and they're going to get their heads cut off. This is the way this ends. I'm not just going to tell you what's coming, I'm going to tell you the whole story. Basically, the Bible says the same thing too, okay? That there will be this Antichrist reign and everything. Don't be too hard on our Jewish brothers and sisters. The negative role is a role assigned by the Creator, just like a demon is an incarnation and has to work for God. Okay? You got to be very open minded and open hearted about all of these things. Okay? Even the demons. Okay? So, do not murder. That seems like a pretty good one, right? But remember, all of there are exception clauses for Jews in all of this. They basically Noahide law is it is the two-state solution they can achieve in Israel. And the ruling state is the Jews, and the subordinate state is the Gentiles. Okay? And a Jew can kill a Gentile without any consequence. Hand to God, I'm not making this up, okay? Watch some YouTube videos. And it's all hanging out there on YouTube. It's not like they're hiding this. It's not like I've gone on some big scavenger hunt to find this information to tell you. They're telling you. The rabbis are out there telling you, and it's all of them. You know that group of Orthodox in New York who don't believe in the state of Israel and protest with the Palestinians in New York? Fair enough, okay? They also say the same thing. Noahide law is coming, the Jews are going to run the world, and blah, 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 blah. Okay? And I don't have anything against Jews running the world. If they do a good job and make a more light-filled and prosperous world for everybody with no war or anger or malice, man, I'm down with that. I don't want to run things. I know who I am. I like who I am. I don't want to run things. Somebody has to run things. Nobody's been able to do it thus far. Okay? If they can do it, they can do it. And that should be respected. Now that said, I don't think they can do it because they're jerk-offs. And the moment they get the power, they're just going to get fetishistically overworked and become compulsive fucking idiots. Even worse. Okay? Do not commit sexual immorality. This law prohibits incest. Well, that's going to hurt Pakistan quite a bit. And Afghanistan. I'm down with that, rabbis. This law prohibits incest, adultery, and other forms of sexual misconduct. So the adultery thing is big. You can't cheat on your wife. You can't cheat on your husband. You can't go with another man's wife. I agree with that. I think the damage we've done to the family, which is the building block of society, is enormous. And I do agree with this. Okay? I do. Do not steal. Well, I guess that derivatives market is gonna go away, eh? Are you gonna tell Jamie Dimon this, rabbis? Are you gonna tell Larry Fink this, you fucking goofs? They've made their trillions stealing from Gentiles. Yeah? No? Okay. Do not steal. That's another thing too. it is possible that this could be applied so even-handedly that it's palatable. Like if the rabbis go and grab up Jamie Dimon and put him to death, by the way, he's the head of Goldman Sachs in New York. Okay? If they kill that dude because they determine that he stole, I'm going to go, I'm starting to like this Noahide law. I swear to God. So I'm keeping my mind open, okay? I'm not anti-Semitic in the sense that I don't want it to happen just because it's Jews doing it and they killed the Jesus, okay? I'm not coming from that space at all, okay? In fact, never mind. Okay. Do not eat meat from a living animal. Well, I can't. Does that even happen? Are there any restaurants that do that? I don't know. This law prohibits the consumption of meat that is from a living animal, emphasizing respect for animal life. So the factory farming is going away? I don't know. Okay. Establish courts of justice. This commandment emphasizes the importance of maintaining order and fairness in society and a system of laws and justice. I hope it's just straightforward enough that you can go in and plead your case in front of 7 rabbis, because this judicial system we have now is just complete bullshit. So that's where we're going. I know, eh? It's hard to see. You got Ukraine, you got Russia, you got Gaza, you got China, you got all this stuff going on, and this little turtle is consistently, slowly walking up behind the hare, and that's Noahide law in the Third Temple. But they got to get the temple in. So I think the temple, I think the Alaska Mosque will be blown up very, very soon. They have to do it while Trump's in office because they're not going to get another leader that allows them to do that. Now, how do I know this is coming? Well, you're going to start to see it coming out all over the place now. And tonight I have a little bit of material, and we're going to go through it, okay? And let's start right now.
Shall we talk Ark of the Covenant? Because I've been waiting to talk about this all day. New CIA documents just resurfaced from 1988 that claims the Ark of the Covenant is real and we have a location for it. Sounds like something out of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's true. And the CIA, according to these reports, says the Ark was confirmed to exist through remote viewing, describing a gold-covered chest guarded by powerful beings in an underground Middle Eastern chamber. Joining us now to unpack this explosive story is Jason Shurka, author of The Pyramid Code. Welcome back, Jason. Two crazy big stories that I'm in love with. We talked about the Egyptian pyramids this week, earlier in the week with you, and now we've got the Ark of the Covenant. It seems crazy. First of all, what do you think this revelation means, this CIA document? And maybe I'll ask you, do you think they're also maybe releasing this information now to distract us from something else?
Now, okay, so why am I playing something on the Ark of the Covenant? Well, I shouldn't have jumped in, but I'm impulsive, right? And I drink a lot of coffee. So he's going to tell you where it is right now, and that'll be your first clue.
Very glad you brought that up because it was a point that I was going to share. And I'm sure people have different perspectives on it. But let's cover what this thing is first, and then we can go over, again, just the factual essence of what's going on here. What do we know? What are we being told? What could be false? And 2 times in a week, how does this connect to exactly what was written in the Pyramid Code? So we know that in the Pyramid Code document, it already spoke exactly about what was underneath the pyramids. Well, it spoke about the Ark of the Covenant as well, with its exact location, where you can find it, and what it entails. So what the CIA actually declassified in those documents, once again, is not new information. It's just a big organization and agency coming out saying, hey, look, this is what we did. And by the way, we did it like 40 years ago in 1988. So this project is called Project Sunstreak, like streaking the sun. And it's using something called psychoenergetics. So you called something called remote viewing. Remote viewing is essentially this thing that is weird to most people, but it's very real.
Pretty sure that remote viewing is idolatry, by the way.
I've worked with remote viewers before. A lot of agencies work with remote viewers to find things that they can't find through traditional mechanisms like missing bodies. I work with somebody named Patricia Mona. She found 30 missing bodies for the RCMP in Canada when they couldn't find it themselves. And it's all done through this really weird mechanism, but it works because these very big agencies actually use them.
Yeah, the CIA. The CIA's been using remote viewing for years.
For a long time. This is not wacky stuff.
Yeah.
It's not wacky stuff, but it sounds wacky because we just don't understand. What do you mean projecting consciousness out to a specific coordinate of longitude and latitude and being able to understand exactly what's there? So they did this in 1988, and I want to read something real quick from their actual declassified documents from December 5th, 1988. It was a session by, they don't give us the name, but it's called Remote Viewer Number 32, which means they used over 30 people in this experiment to do it. This specific session lasted 90 minutes from 9:15 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. on December 5th, 1988. And it says the following. Target is a container. The target is what they're looking for on the longitude and latitude lines. This container has another container inside of it. The target is fashioned of wood, gold, and silver. The target is similar in shape to a coffin and is decorated with seraphim, which are like these gold-looking statues. This target is located somewhere in the Middle East, as the language spoken by individuals present seemed to be Arabic. Visuals of surrounding buildings indicated the presence of mosque domes. And I'm going to tell you right now that I know people are talking about, is it in Ethiopia? Because there's a lot of, Arabic speaking people over there. No, it's under the Dome of the Rock. And I'll tell you how we know that in a second. But it continues on by saying the target is hidden.
You get that? It's under the Dome of the Rock. So what are they doing? This is a CIA released document, and the CIA and the Mossad, remember what Uncle Cliff says, right? That we had this opportunity to begin a growth relationship with benign extraterrestrials who were going to give us technology that would have advanced us in every way, including spiritually. And the rabbis, as they were called, who were the head of what became the CIA and the Mossad, but back then was called the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS. Also, the office that produced Cynthia Crawford, the first human-alien hybrid, documented in Stardust Ranch, The Incredible True Story. So the CIA is releasing this information now. Very well timed, isn't it? Right? And they're telling us that the Ark of the Covenant, and that's that thing you saw in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, okay? And again, how this isn't idolatry, I don't know, okay? If God is inside of us and every externalization of God, including the Ark, whatever the fuck it is, probably alien technology, how does that get a pass from being idolatry, okay? It seems to me sometimes these fucking rabbis are just making this shit up as they go along, okay? But there's the key point right there. I will stop molesting you and let you get back to this now.
Underground, dark and wet were all aspects of the location of the target. The purpose of the target is to bring a people together, meaning a religious object. It has something to do with ceremony, memory, homage, the resurrection. There is an aspect of spirituality, information, lessons, and historical knowledge far beyond what we know. And then it goes on by explaining something which I can elaborate on further of what this means. The target is protected by entities and energies. And can only be opened by those who are authorized to do so. This container will not/cannot be opened until the time is deemed correct. Once it is time to open the container, the mechanics of the lock system will be found to be fairly simple. Individuals opening the container by prying or striking are destroyed, meaning they die, by the container's protectors, meaning its energies, through the use of a power unknown to us. Now, it sounds weird, but that's coming from the CIA. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
this is like the sword and the stone.
Someone in the chat
Only
says,
the right people can pull it out, and the wrong.
Now, why would the CIA be interested in the Ark of the Covenant? And now you can see, how sometimes people add entertainment to military industrial entertainment complex. Now you know why. They've been working glove in hand since World War II, okay? And they've been pushing this narrative and trying to control and cultivate social consciousness. And everything that's going on now has its roots in the Talmud, okay, including the transgenderism. And I'm not saying that this is every Jew, okay, because you can see Orthodox Jews saying that homosexuality or transgenderism is a blasphemy. It's in Leviticus. So this isn't a Jewish thing. It is this sort of really weird culture that is an offshoot of Judaism, this I don't know, this sort of Talmudic thing, whatever you want to call it. But there's your first question right there. Why in the hell is the CIA give a rat's ass about the Ark of the Covenant? How is that protecting American interests abroad, which is their mandate? You tell me. I don't know.
People will be punished.
Shall we talk Ark of the Covenant? Because I've been waiting to talk about this all.
Never ending.
Sphinxes.
Never ending story.
Yes,
Yeah.
when he goes through the Sphinx, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's like only those authorized. This is amazing. Sorry, I got excited.
So,
It's
okay.
Indiana Jones in real life. That's what's going
All of
on
it.
here.
I know someone in the chat said, man, Redacted, you guys became the woke History Channel. I don't know about that, but I'll take the History Channel piece of it. I'm thrilled about that. I mean, again, these are CIA documents, right? And so using these remote viewers and the documents before this, I mean, this has been around for a long, long time for people laying claim to what actually this ark means and does and holds. But I'm curious about these beings that are sort of guarding this thing. Do we have any more information about what these beings might be that are guarding this thing? What kind of energies?
Yeah, so I think that word is not the proper word to use. You're talking about something that is a very highly spiritual object and artifact. I call it a form of technology. And when you deal in that world, think about it scientifically as frequency.
There is no such thing as a spiritual object. Okay? Right, what he just said right there in my cosmology would be head chopping for idolatry. This is what I was trying to express in holy sites are nonsense. You are the holy site. You, okay? You in your body are the holy site. So he's now calling the ark a spiritual object. There's no such thing as a spiritual object. You can have objects that have profound psychic resonance, like the pyramids, like jade, like gold. And, you know, I explained the resonance that you get from minerals, right, in the creational pattern. But in true spirituality, there is no such thing as a spiritual object. So Gumby here just fucking blasphemed.
There are certain frequencies that some people can touch and some people cannot, because if you don't have the proper vehicle to do it, it will literally electrocute you and kill you. For example, there are some people like monks who can walk on fire and not get burned, but me and you may walk on fire and we're going to get burned. That's what we're talking about with certain energies embedded into this thing. Remember, we're talking 4,000 years ago. This is around the same time of the pyramids as well. We're talking about a civilization, a society, a people that did things in a way that we do not understand today because it's forgotten knowledge. But what's interesting over here, when it comes to understanding its location as well, which is important, is, yeah, there are some people saying, it might be in Ethiopia. We don't really know. Well, the CIA documents are talking about it underneath some sort of dome, some big mosque in the Middle East. And then here's where the diversion, the distraction comes in. They say it might be here, it might be there, we don't really know. So I'm going to read something from a Daily Mail article that came out just the other day about this topic. And then I want to show you what the Pyramid Code has to say about this, because once again, just like it was on the money with what was underneath the pyramids, it did it once again in a few days. So it's speaking about, according to legend, Queen of Sheba and Israel's King Solomon, so this is history, gave birth to Menelik in her country of origin, but he later traveled to Jerusalem to study with his father. While there, he supposedly stole the ark and brought it back to Axum in Ethiopia. Locals say it has resided in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion ever since. But then the British scholar of Semitic languages and Ethiopian studies, Edward Ullendorf, claimed that he saw the ark inside the church during World War II. But a source close to Ullendorf later revealed that the artifact he saw was nothing more than a replica. What he saw was what you find in any Ethiopian church. It's a model of the Ark of the Covenant because they have replicas all over the place. They have decoys all over the place because you're talking about something of extremely high, not just historical significance, but spiritual significance as well. So in the Pyramid Code, a few days ago, we spoke about what was underneath the pyramids, and we cited certain things from that document that came out 5 years ago. Listen to what it says over here. King Solomon, King David's son, manifested the idea of the first holy temple, but it came at a heavy price to the people of the nation. The first holy temple was composed of three main parts: the main hall, the second part of the temple was the main temple, which contained certain objects, and the third part of the temple was known as the Holy of Holies, in which the Ark of the Covenant was. However, over time, and now I'm going to the bottom, it specifically says the place itself, which is known as the foundation stone, in the Dome of the Rock. So the Dome of the Rock, if you read over there, the Holy of Holies, also known as the Dvir in Hebrew, sat on what we know today as the foundation stone. In Hebrew, it's called Evan Hashtiyah, within the Dome of the Rock as we know it today. The foundation was used as a stand for the Dvir. The foundation stone had and still has very strong powers, and its geographical location is the energy center of our planet, as well as the energy center of everything as a whole. But here's where it gets interesting. If you go down, it says, in a straight line, deep underground, exactly what the remote viewer said, are the contents of the Holy of Holies, which are concealed there until this very day. The room in which these items are hidden, like the rest of the temple, was designed by King Solomon. And further conversations, if you want to call them, about the Pyramid Code, which is the series on Unified TV, further explain exactly where it is, roughly 180 feet below the base of the foundation stone, which is what the Dome of the Rock is actually built around on right now. It's called the Dome of the Rock because it's a massive dome over the foundation stone.
Now, something that Candace Owens has been reporting on quite a bit lately is that a lot of the destruction of the Middle East right now by globalist powers, what she thinks is to purposely destroy Christian artifacts in this area. So this feels like a link to me. What do you think of it? I know you're not a war expert, but what are your thoughts on where the war is currently targeted?
Yeah, but we could use logic to understand certain things. And what we know is, again, factually, like the center of war in the world is there in the Middle East. It's
Yes.
this aspect of everything around Israel. Everybody's fighting over it. And the three main monotheistic religions, which is Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all look at that place as this is our place. We got to ask ourselves, why did they go, if you go according to history, before it became a mosque, it was the Holy Temple. Why did they choose to build it there around the foundation stone specifically? What did they know that we don't know today? And the answer is a whole lot. And over time, we'll figure that out. But what I believe is the answer to your question is there's a lot of war around there because there's a lot of power given to the very individuals who control that. And that's what they're really fighting over. This isn't about Jews versus Muslims. It's not a religious war within people. That's how we're used to fight each other in this game of divide and conquer. But what's really going on is, in my opinion, there are powers that be that we do understand control the world when it comes to energy sectors, oil, gas, water, and so on and so forth. Those same people want to make sure, just like a lot of other things are not found out.
Anyways, there you have it. He just goes on. You can look it up yourself. It's on YouTube, but he just goes on and on. But there you go. So you're going to start to get more and more of this kind of stuff coming in. It's all a psyop. There's no significance at all to the fucking Ark of the Covenant, except maybe if you're a fucking reptilian. It's all just a bunch of jerk-off bullshit. But people are so spiritually deprived right now that you could tell them, you could sell them ice and tell them it's fire. Okay? So there you go. There's tonight's podcast. I'm going to call it Temple Whores and Noahide Law. And I'm Bruce McDonald, and this has been the Talamanca Review.